Hello plant friends, my name is Victoria and you're watching Plantastics. Today I'm going to be taking you on a fall 2023 plant tour. So let's get started. Okay, so first and foremost, we can't do a fall tour without talking about my violets. So we're going to start from the top of the shelf and go down. So this is Picasso. It's being debudded. It looks really nice from the top. The sides it kind of looks a little wonky. And it's my largest violet right now in terms of like diameter. Next we have blackberry jam. And sometimes when you ship them and then like repot them, they go crazy. And that's what this one's doing. So you can see there's multiple crowns. And I'm just going to leave these until they get a little bit larger. And then I'm going to separate them and probably list them on eBay. It's a beautiful violet because it has these really large, dark flowers, and I think it's a large standard, so it's going to get pretty large in diameter. So violets can come in different sizes. Obviously when you buy it, it may be a baby version of what it'll eventually grow into. So here are some other violets. This is a miniature and it's called Jolly Deer. There are several different Jolly minis, and this one's Jolly Deer, and it's just so precious. The flowers look like a Sarah Bernhardt peony to me. Next we have Toy Castle, Toy Castle, which I feel like looks like a miniature Picasso. Here we have the first flower really coming up. If you can see, it's going to be this beautiful periwinkle purple, and it's fixing to really put on quite a show. All those little pink tiny things, those are peduncles, also called flower stalks. And it's fixing to be completely covered in blooms, probably sometime before Christmas. This is an Optimara. It was part of the unboxing video, and as you can see, the flower stems, or the petioles, I believe that's what that's called, used to be really long, and you can see now that it's getting more light, they're closer together. And it has these beautiful little pink flowers. Next is a trailer called Rambling Right Along, and it is just so precious and unique. I completely debudded Kentucky Rambler. It is a trailer, so they like to spread. Next is Edge of Darkness. It's a very beautiful violet. It has these dark flowers with this beautiful white border, and it does have some variegation. The newer leaves have it. In the back here we have these two flasks basically of Darth Vaderina green spot hybrid begonia clippings, and they're rooting right now. So if we go down one level, we have another large standard, and this one's Cranberry Sparkler. It is beautiful. Look how beautiful it is. This has taken me 11 months. This was grown from a leaf, and it is called P.T. Iania. It is producing its very first blooms for me. So they're really unique. I like to just have it kind of be a surprise. So when someone first sends me a violet, I will look up what the bloom looks like, but I eventually do forget. So whenever they're like this, I don't look up what the blooms will look like. I'll let it be kind of like a surprise. This is such a beautiful violet. It looks like lace. This is a Russian hybrid called Lesno Krosheva. And here is an Optimara, and you can see it's having the same thing as blackberry jam. So you can see there's multiple crowns forming here. And I'm just going to wait and separate those out later, just because my life is fixing to get really crazy and I'm not going to have time around the Christmas holidays. So next we have this corner, and it's really nice. So right here is my desk, and I have a standing desk and a treadmill. I spend a lot of time at my desk, and that's why I have all of my really beautiful like violets that are blooming, because I get to just like look to my right and I just have this beautiful showcase. Like normally I would get flowers on my desk every week, but with violets I don't have to do that because I always have violets blooming. I do have like over 20 different violets, so it's not like, you know, I just have 2 or 3. So there's always some that are blooming. Right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Half of them are blooming right now, and these are just the ones in my office. I have others that are blooming throughout the house. So if you're really into having flowers, African violets are the way to go. So here is my Hoya collection, and this isn't my entire collection. These are all really small. I have all of these from trading. I did a lot of trades. This was one of those little single hearts of the heart leaf Hoya, which is the Hoya carrii, and it looks okay, but yeah, it had a node on the leaf, so I saw a little shoot coming up and I bought it. There's this greenhouse, and at the end of the growing season they have a big houseplant sale, so all their little heartleaf Hoyas were 50% off. So I got a whole one for like, I think $4 or $3. Yeah. And then here is my Alocasia tanderusa. I did grow this one from a corm, and it's taken it a whole year to get to this size. It's actually one of the very first videos on my channel is me planting it, and then I did like a rare plant video where you can see it being super teeny tiny. Hidden behind the tanderusa, we have this right here, this Alocasia scalprum, and it's really beautiful. I love how textured the leaves are. We have some asymmetry here. You can see when I started fertilizing, because they are getting larger and larger. And this one I'm not going to touch it because you can like kind of just cause some little bit of damage. But yeah, this one's really pretty, and it's in a wicking pot, so you can kind of see there's some roots, and it's not actively sitting in water, but the wicks are. So this is just like what these are, but it doesn't have the white cover pot. Sometimes I can find porcelain pots that'll like fit these, and they're really great because it's just a break, because if all of them look like this it would be kind of boring. And this one actually is just one of those pots just sitting into this cauldron. I don't have any support rings for my violets yet, so I was kind of hoping that this would kind of act as like a support ring. So yeah, that's just some information on those. I believe this is a Nepenthes Rebecca something, and this is like a little bit of an experiment I have going on. So it is going to be just testing something that I've heard online, but I've never seen anybody test it. So this is the control. This one doesn't get fed anything. This Nepenthes right here, it gets fed insects, and then this one gets fed fertilizer. So I've heard that depending on what you feed your Nepenthes, you can have more or less pitchers. I've heard that if you feed them insects, then you're going to have more pitchers, but if you feed them fertilizer drops, you know, like people say that you'll have fewer pitchers. And then I have a control that's not going to be fed anything, and just to see and test that theory out, because I've heard it, but I'm just really curious to see if that's true or not, or if it's just kind of like a rumor. And then you can see the pictures changed colors. This one's deformed. It didn't have a hat. It has a fancier name, but I'm just going to call it a hat right now. But yeah, they're just so precious. And then the more light that they get, the darker they turn. So you can see this one. This one's a really great example. It's kind of outside. This one's hidden under a leaf here. But yeah. And then I don't know how long it's going to take for me to have like a actual answer on what is and isn't helpful. My theory is that it's not going to matter what they were fed, because I have some Nepenthes I don't feed and they have really nice sized pitchers. Here is my Alocasia Silver Dragon, and I believe it has an inflow coming up. But yeah, and then look at all the babies. Look at them. All those little tiny little points, those are little corms. And then just for fun, I'll show you the roots on this tanderusa. Now, I did have a few spider mites, so I did cut off some of the larger leaves. I know everybody's going to shudder when I pick this up, but it's so rooted, like it doesn't damage it. So here, look at those roots. They're just really pretty. Now, this one doesn't produce a ton of corms. It did produce 2, and I gave one of those to my friend and then another to another friend. So they have a little bit of mine. But yeah, this one came from Europe. Someone sent me a corm. And then I got some Stephanie exotica. It's like a pseudo bulb type plant. And I tried to grow those from seed, but it didn't work. Here is my philodendron melanochrysum. And this was the most expensive plant I had ever purchased. It was like, I want to say 1.5 feet tall. And I got it for 50 or 100, I can't remember. But I've never spent that much on a plant. I know there's people that spend thousands on plants, but I'm just not that girl. But yeah, it was one of those plants that I was like, I have to have it. This leaf looks perfect. Now, my theory is that I know people talk about humidity being important, but I've experienced something different. So my ambient humidity in this room is 44%. It ranges between 30 and 60. It just really depends on, I don't run a humidifier, so it doesn't depend on that. But yeah, so I think that light will determine whether these crack or not, because I moved it here. It was over there by that par 38, the GE par 38 bulb. And you can kind of see when they get sunburnt, they turn pink. So you can see it was sunburnt from there. But yeah, you can see this one's getting less light and it's like perfect. And then some of the ones that are tucked away in the back, like they're perfect. So that's my theory. Here is my T-Rex terrarium. Everybody really loves that. Here is my begonia amorpheus. It is lime green and pink polka dotted. It looks like something teenage me would have died for in the early 2000s, because like those were very popular colors. Here is my very wild looking string of hearts, and I just have it growing on the floor because it just really likes that. It likes to grow on the floor. Like, I understand they're hanging plants, but like they just like being on the floor. And then I have this dog food container and some other stuff kind of blocking the vacuum, because we have one of those little vacuums from like running and catching all of it. Here's all of my different spray bottles. I have them in this pretty wicker basket. And then this is my distilled water for the system that I have. And here's the system. And it's amazing. I've had it since December and it has worked really well. And then here is my large vivarium. It houses some isopods and that's it. Got various springtails. Every animal, or like every little insect inside, is from my backyard. So I have some Hoya blooms. Let's look at them together. So these misters, I have 4 heads here, and they spritz for 30 seconds every 6 hours. Now, how much you mist is kind of going to depend on how many plants you have. So I used to mist way less when I first built it because the roots weren't established on the plants. But now they are. Isn't that cute? They're so fuzzy and precious. Oh my god. I really hope that this Hoya blooms. But yeah, I have probably like 4 or 5 species of Hoyas. And the secret to keeping Hoyas happy in a vivarium is to have them planted at the top, so that way they're not being drenched. And what I do is I wait until they look like kind of shriveled, and then I take one of these spritzers and I twist the top to where it's kind of like a jet stream, and I spray into those little pots at the top. So that's how I make sure they don't get root rot. And then here's some Spanish moss. I'm not going to go through all the different plants that are in here because it would take forever. I do have some jewel orchids, and then this is one of the most beautiful begonias I have. It is so pretty. And then I have a Darth Vaderina hybrid here. It's only ever had 2 leaves at a time. And it's crossed with something. I can't remember. And then sometimes I'll just put the little flowers in here from the violets, and the little isopods will eat them. Yeah, so that's that. Here is my lovely little dog. She's very spoiled. So she gets sunlight, and she's in her little blanket. So this is where she likes to look out. So here's my platinum peace lily. This is my feather cactus, and you can literally see it looks like feathers. Here are two different Anthuriums. This is the Anthurium Carnivorous and then the chocolate Anthurium. This is one of my carnivorous plants. It's a really slow growing one. Here's one of my lithops. And you can see it's probably going to split within the next 2 or 3 months. This is one of my cacti. It doesn't have any spikes. It has polka dots on it. Both of these are cacti that I bought this year. These two things are more than a year old. Everything else is kind of newer. Next we have this gigantic plant here. Here's my enormous peace lily, and it has 2 flowers right now. And the flowers are pretty big. Okay, so just to take a step back, here are some of the other plants. We'll start at the bottom. These are 2 different peperonia. This is Napoli Nights, and then I think this one's, it has piccolo in the name. Here's the only Spanish moss I've ever been able to grow. Here is my red torch begonia. It's a really pretty plant. And then here is Cecile Sophie. It's like actual silver. Like, it's so beautiful. Just look at it. I grew this one from a leaf as well. This one is Bob Servants, and it has these beautiful, just cherry red flowers. And I have this one in here so that way when people come in the door, they can kind of see it. Here is another Darth hybrid green spot, and it's rooting. The roots are red, and then that leaf is growing underwater. So this one took 10 months, and then this one took 11 months from a leaf. This is Little Sonia, and it's about to bloom for the first time. This is the first time this one bloomed, and I was kind of surprised. Sometimes when violets bloom for the first time, they only have like maybe 1 flower, kind of like this one does. But this one is just, I mean, show-stopping. As soon as this one's done blooming, it's going to need a larger pot. But yeah, here's Little Sonia. It's a Ukrainian hybrid. If you look up Little Sonia, nothing's going to come up because the actual name is in another language. But yeah, there's 2 different. There's a peduncle there, and here's one as well. And it has girl leaves. So there's different like leaf names, and these are called girl leaves. And I believe that the flower is going to be shaped like a bell, but it could be called a bell flower, but I'm not really sure. I'd have to look it up. And it's just really pretty. Like, it's just such, you know, it's such an unusual violet. Here's a viola. These grow in my backyard, and it's Viola sororia, and it has the cutest little purple flowers. And the soil and the moss is all from my backyard. And this one is fixing to be a 3-year-old terrarium. Okay, next we have my super spooky coffin and my little frog skeleton. And these are plantlets. So the far right is Rose Bouquet. In the middle we have Gillian, and to the far left we have Midnight Waterfall. So these 2 I was able to save from my prior collection. I took leaf cuttings and put them in water in little Ziploc bags, and I kept the water at exactly 110 degrees to kill the cyclamen mites, and then I propagated them And these two are propagations from those leaves. Here's an Optimara. I like to show people what African violets look like when they grow in water, because they're doing the same thing in soil, you just can't really see it. So this is Jolly Deer. You can see there's little leaves forming. And here's Picasso. See the leaves. So they grow roots first, and it takes them a good while before they actually show any leaves. Yeah, here's an Optimara. It's really pretty. I haven't taken the time to sit down and try to figure out who's who with the Optimaras, because you can purchase them from their website and then look at their catalog and figure out what the names are. Here's Water Sprite, and it's got a little bit of orange crust on it. I just went a little too crazy. And then here's Sunburn, or Bulb Burn. But yeah, it's got some flowers coming. They're going to be two different colors. Here is the most easy, ornate leafed plant to grow. It is the Tenanthe, also called the fishbone calathea, but it's not an actual calathea, it's a Tenanthe. This is one of my oldest plants. Its birthday or gotcha date's right there. So I got 3 different philodendrons, and then I still have all of them. They're really good plants. So next is one of my favorite corners. So let me see if I can back up. Right here is where I have people basically come and visit, and these are like my display plants. So I try to put my most beautiful plants right here in this corner so they can have something to look at, because the TV is like right here and then the plants are all right here. So it's just kind of like jungle vibes without being over the top. So right here is a prayer plant. It is the rabbit striped lime Maranta, and then I have a red one as well. It doesn't look as great as it has in past videos because I just got over spider mites. I've been fighting a small battle with spider mites, so I released some predatory mites, and that seems to have helped, but I think I need to release another group of them. Here is my Alocasia Dragon's Breath. This one produces so many babies for me. Like, it is constantly producing little corms. And this one looks really cool because it's almost like a silver gray. This is one of my desert roses, and it's beautiful. It's cream and burgundy. And just look at how many flowers I've got. The other one has even more. I mean, look at it. It's got 5 flowers all at one time. The most this one's ever had is 4. And both of these are like, I think they're coming up on 2 years or a year and a half. I can't remember. Here is the Scindapsus. Now, I'm not exactly sure which one this one is. And then I made this little trellis. But it's really just like a halo because I don't actually have it growing on the trellis. It's just to be pretty. And then here is a cauldron. And I just really love stuff like that, so that's just going to stay in it year round. It's not going to be a seasonal thing. This is my largest Anthurium. It is the Anthurium radicans crossed with a luxurians, and boy is it beautiful. I mean, just look at that leaf. Look at that shine. Gorgeous. And then we have an inflorescence here. Got some thick roots. They look like noodles. I've tried to transition to the clear pots for everyone. And then I've got these 2 desert roses in like orchid pots, just because those were the only clear pots that I had. So let's move on to this desert rose. Let's see if we can get them to look like a big bouquet. But it's just gorgeous. Okay, these plants are just absolutely stunning. They're beautiful. Now, I am going to prune these this year. Last year I didn't know what to do, And sometimes they'll drop all their leaves as soon as you bring them inside, and that's just them thinking they're going into dormancy. Next are my Anthuriums. So this one is called Michelle, and Michelle was actually grown from a seed. It's a very beautiful Anthurium. And then we have Anthurium Silver Blush. This one is some kind of a red crystallinum, and they're all beautiful because they have a shimmer to them. So this one has like a shine to the leaves, but these actually shine like glitter, if you can see that on the camera. They're literally so beautiful, and I put them all together because they looked so pretty together. And I have them in bark and Miracle Grow soil. So yeah. Here is my Xanthoma Lindini. This is a beautiful plant. I've never had problems with spider mites or anything like that. It's just so beautiful. The veining and the patterning on the leaves is so striking. It has a little teeny tiny baby there. Here is my Billianti. I purchased this one as a seedling. It is literally humongous. Like, look how big. Look how large the leaves are. They're just gigantic and very, very beautiful. You can see when I started fertilizing it, so like these are how big the leaves used to be. And then this was the largest leaf it put out, and then this one, and then like this one, and then this one, and now we've got this one. So you can kind of see how they sized up. Here is my Nepenthes Gaia. It's a really pretty Nepenthes. Let me see if I can pick it up. It's just gigantic. And I have it in like perlite and sphagnum moss. And the roots are not dead, they're just black. See? And I have it in a wick because they don't like to sit in water. Back here we have my philodendron micans. And it's just crazy. It's just kind of like something to be busy in the background. Next we have my most beautiful plant. Now it does have a little bit of a sunburn there. And this is the philodendron splendid. And it literally has trichomes and they look like velvet in the light. But yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful plant. You know, it's just really pretty. So these are all of the plants in the living room. Now these are all my plants that were on my back patio, and I kind of just have them thrown together here, and it's just like a green mass. So I'm going to start on the far left. This is the Raven ZZ. Next we have the Monstera Adonzi broadleaf. I also have a narrow leaf that's outside. This is one of the Vitrifolium I grew from seed. I got 3 seeds, and I did have some variegation. So this one has a little bit of variegation. Next we have this Begonia Dragon Wing Pink by Proven Winners, and it's just a beautiful cascading blooming begonia. Next we have Maurice Amy. After that we have this African Mask. Now I purchased this as a Bambino, and the leaves really don't get any larger than this. Next we have my Alocasia Friedeck, and it's an oddball because it just randomly throws up sport variegation. So there's some sport variegation. This is the best sport variegation it's thrown. Okay, so here we have this pothos here, and it's like 6 or 7 years old. This is the Begonia Looking Glass. It's just so beautiful. Oh my god, it's so pretty. And then here we have one of the Begonia Maculatas. They're in the same pot. And they're kind of growing sideways because they were on my back porch and the light was like not exactly hitting them directly on top. So that's why you can see one and not the other so much, but it's going to catch up. Next we have my Dieffenbachia. Now I don't know exactly which one this is, but it is always blooming. Like, it's always got some blooms going on. And it looks like it's got 3 blooms at one time. And then even the little baby's blooming. Next is the Thaumatophyllum. And then I've got my skull for spooky season. So yeah, that concludes this corner. And these are all under a par 38. And as you can see, this one bulb is able to provide enough light for all of these plants. I have my orchids up top, and these are the Barrina T5 lights. They're very strong. They don't burn my orchids or anything. They're strong enough for succulents and cacti. Now, some violets will get tight centers because it's just a little too much light for them, so you can just turn the light on for less amounts of time. So I'm just going to go through the orchids I have. So I try to keep them separated by like water more frequently and water less frequently, but I am kind of running out of space. So I do have one of my cattleyas over here. So he normally is on this other side. So here I have my Miltoniopsis. I have them all labeled. So this is the Hajime Ono Raspberry. This one's beautiful. This was my very first Miltoniopsis I ever got, and I've gotten that one to rebloom and double in size. Next we have this one. This one's a newer edition. It is Miltoniopsis Lillian Nakamoto Tanto, and it looks like the blooms will be white and black. This is a baby, so it hasn't bloomed yet. And then back here we have this one here. It just finished blooming, and it's the only Miltoniopsis that has fragrant blooms, and it is Miltoniopsis Sunglow Amazing. And then this is a division from the Hajime Ono Raspberry, and you've got some teeny tiny little pseudobulbs there forming. So what's going on? Oh. Next we have the Hoya linearis. This is a Cattleya. Here's the Vanda. I don't know where its tag is, but it's somewhere. The Cattleya is called this. And this is my fastest growing one, and it's got 1, 2, 3, and then a 4th growth there that you can't really see. I grew this Anthurium from a seed. These are actually duplicate seeds, and you can just see like this one's doing amazing, and this one looks like literal hot trash. So sometimes you need to try to get more than one seed from a plant, because sometimes they just don't do too great. This is a Sarracenia. I don't know what its name is, but it came from Lowe's. And it looks really cool. Like, really cool. This is another Cattleya, and it is Love Avenue Serenade. And it'll have pink flowers. And then all the Cattleyas and Vandas that I have are bag babies from Lowe's. Now the Miltoniopsis, we don't have those anywhere around me, so I ordered all of those online. Here is, I'm pretty sure this Cattleya is gonna die. I bought it for like barely anything because it had no roots and it was on clearance. It is Chief Mountain. This is my Begonia tomentosa, and it's just crazy. In this container that I'm not going to even bother opening is my Warquinum. These are the succulents that I tried to save from my cardinal that I have. I named him Carl, and you can see he's eaten some of the leaves. This is my Euphorbia obesa, and it's female. It looks really great until you realize it's burnt really bad on one side. But it's okay, it's making it. These are overflow plants from outside. So this is a Begonia ocula. This is a Begonia maculata, and I think it's got a tag here. I always forget this one. Harmony's Angel Eyes. So it's Begonia maculata, Harmony's Angel Eyes. And then here is Pied Piper. Here we have Stapelia gigantea, also called this corpse plant. And then I have my Christmas cactus. That is a hot pink when it blooms. These are all begonias and stuff that I'm trying to sell. So this is a tomentosa, the Darth green spot, but it's not mature enough to have green spots yet. Here's a Harmony's Angel Eyes. and it's completely rooted, so you can see. And then here is a duplicate from that same group of seeds, and it's an Anthurium vitifolium, and you can see that it doesn't have much variegation unlike the other one. I sold one of them and it was much smaller when I sold it, and it has sport variegation, so it doesn't just have splotches. Okay, so here are my pings and my sundews, and my sundews are actually doing poorly. I think that they're dead. I really don't know. I moved them inside and they have not been happy. There's like one that's like under there that's like somehow surviving. So this is my ping planifolia, and you can see it has a flower. So that's kind of exciting. Isn't that cool? It's got a little flower. So here are my African violets, and then I have heat mats underneath them, but they're not plugged in. See, like they're just chilling. And I just have them underneath these things so that I could flatten out. Like I don't actually use them. They kind of just came with these little trays, these germination trays. So we're gonna start with this box first. Now these little tops, these little domes don't stay on all the time, and then I do have fans on every level. And then the most fans are up here. Like I think I have two. Yeah, I have two larger ones up here. So they do get some air. But yeah, I'm just going to show you kind of what these look like. So these were all planted in August, and they have their like dates on there. Like this one was from 8/20/2023. And that's rambling right along. So you can see the baby plants are coming up. You see them? So Edge of Darkness and Jolly Deer. You can see a lot of them. Now, some of them actually have little babies, but you can't see them because they're kind of like hidden under the leaves. And I cut them like this so they can all fit. So you can see Buckeye Cranberry Sparkler's got some babies there. But yeah, so these were planted in August. Lesno Crosshevo's got some babies there. And each leaf can produce anywhere from 1 plantlet to 5 plantlets. Like Texas 2 is crazy. And it somehow produces multiple, like I'm talking a lot. And then I just have them labeled, and each and every little label has a date on it. So that one was planted 9/17. And then I kind of just keep 2 or 1 empty, and that's where I pour the water. I really prefer to mist, and I don't care that I get water on the leaves. As you can see, the leaves are really not in bad shape, except for cranberry or blackberry jam. It looks pretty messed up. But then if you pick it up, you realize it's completely rotten. So he didn't make it, and that's just part of the game. But that's the only one here that's rotten, so that's pretty good. Now these are newer, so they don't have as many babies. Now this is a micro mini, and it's called Night Dew. It's in the Vivarium, and I honestly don't remember like pointing it out to you. Night Dew here, this one didn't make it. The others are just so young, it's kind of hard to see. And these are just plantlets that were from my old collection. This is Louisiana Lullaby, which is a very beautiful violet. And I just have them in there because they're so delicate. They need to be kind of just like in a safe place, and this is like really small. They're almost ready to be moved to be outside of this. So if you're curious as to why I use the domes, it's just so that way I don't have to water as much, because I don't have time to water these every day. This is one of my overflow areas. So let's look in here. This is also sometimes just my sick box. And one day I'm gonna remember to like stretch that cord out so I can like film better in here. but that is not today. So here we have just different violets. So we have Picasso, a second Picasso. We have this other Russian hybrid that's got some burn on it. And then we have this. We have a ton of alocasias. And then in that back dome there, it used to be a candle holder. We have Texas too. So I'm fixing to get that out. So here's Texas 2, and this is also from my original collection, and these are just so precious. I love this violet so much. It was my most beautiful violet that I've ever grown in my entire life, and it's looking like these two are going to do just fine. I thought that this one right here had something on it because it just looks, it's just a runt, honestly. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a little slower than the other one is. But you can see, like, they're doing pretty well. I need to move them out of here because they need more light. You can see that they're super etiolated. So that's what etolation looks like. See, they're reaching. They're sending up their prayer hands. They're saying, please give me more light. Instead of being flat. Yeah, so these are going to come out. Thank you so much for watching my channel. This concludes my plant tour video. If you'd like to support my channel, be sure to like and subscribe. And tell me, what is your favorite plant that you've seen in this video? Be sure to comment that below. And I'll be seeing you next time. Goodbye.